Tonight, a fast-growing trend is sparking new conversations in communities across the Fox Valley. As more people are looking for different ways to get around, e-bikes are becoming more common on roads, trails, and sidewalks. Samantha Cavalli shows us what riders need to know before hitting the road.
As e-bikes become more common across the Fox Valley, police say the rules need to be just as clear. In Neenah, Officer Joe Benoit says the biggest concern is riders using the road but not always following the rules of the road.
There's a real contradiction there where operators of e-bikes and other vehicles, any motorized vehicle, needs to follow all the rules of the road, including the speed limits.
The city's new ordinance is meant to clear up confusion for riders, drivers, and pedestrians. Under the ordinance, e-bikes are allowed on city streets, including downtown, but riders have to obey traffic laws. They can also be used on most sidewalks, but only if the rider is pedaling, not using just the motor. In the downtown area, they are not allowed on sidewalks.
The biggest takeaway for our new ordinance is the purpose of it is to promote safety and education.
Electric bicycles have become one of the more popular modes of transportation within the last 5 years. And here at Appleton Bicycle Shop, 40% of their inventory is made up of electric bikes.
We're up to like 50-50 now, so 50% of what we sell is going to be electric, and then 50% is stand bicycles.
Owner Gwen Sargent says as more people buy them, safety has to be part of the conversation, especially when it comes to speed.
You know, certainly keeping people at, certain speeds is going to be really help with safety, so I think that'll be really important in the future.
Benoit says Neenah is also working with other area communities to keep ordinances consistent, so riders are not dealing with different rules from one city to the next. The goal is not to keep people off e-bikes, it's to make sure they know what they're riding, where they can ride, and how to do it safely. In the Fox Valley, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.